Alright guys, welcome to the Let It Die Help Me series. Basically, I'm gonna tell you guys, help you out with floors, such and such, most things that people don't know about the game. It kind of belongs under the Dark Souls archetype, so if you're not familiar with those games, they don't give you too much information on how to play the game. You kind of learn as you go, with subtle hints along the way. So we're gonna talk about the waiting room first, your central hub area. So the center fountain over here heals your health every time you pass through it. You press X on the button, you go back to your arcade. Uncle Desk there, you click him to go back to the game. On your left, the girl at the desk, this is where you pick up quests. Now people are like, oh, I get a quest, but do they track automatically? No, you gotta pick it up. You gotta go back to your waiting room, go back here, and you can pick the quests up here. You can hold about 10. They're different rewards, like killing bosses, such and such. Just do them as you go. There's different materials that they're actually useful to do. Some are different than others. The guy on the right, it's kind of like the game master. He's beating the game. He'll give you useful tips every now and then. I've learned a couple things, for example, like stealth attacks. I didn't even know they existed in this game. I learned that from him, which are really, really useful. We'll go back into the combat in a different video, but all the tips and everything go into your Underworld Rolodex. You just press the start button and scroll down. Now before the escalator, there's two reward kind of login things, I guess. They're separate on a separate timer. The logins at the same time every day where it resets. That gold package is from Uncle Death. Depending on when you pick up is when it resets. That gold elevator is for DH users, do have the express pass. Otherwise, if you don't have one, you have to take the poverty elevator and pay coins. This guy, Choku Funsha, is your shop guy. You deliver blueprints, and after you have the necessary materials to make it, they go into the buy tab, and then you can buy the item. Now, after you buy the item, there's a small timer on when's the next time you can buy it. Most of them are a minute, and such. Some are other higher. And the R&D tab is where you make the item. After you deliver the blueprint, it tells you the materials you need. This vending machine you unlock later in the game. Has really good items like take you back to the waiting room, so you don't have to find an elevator just because there's an elevator on the floor. Full health regen, etc. This is your storage. I store most of my materials in there. The reward box is where you get your logins and your quest rewards. You get your quest reward, you have to check back into the girl first and then go back in. Next we're gonna go into the restroom. This is where you keep your fighters you steal, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Tokyo metro station. I know I skipped the mushroom lady in this video. That's where you get your decals. But here, the Tokyo metro station is where you get to essentially like raid other people's waiting rooms, and you can steal fighters, get kill coins, etc. You want to have more than one fighter to put you in your defenses. I suggest you level up fighters and play through the game first before you start raiding. Otherwise, you're just gonna have poor defenses and be easy to raid, and you won't be able to keep fighters that you steal. We'll talk more about that in maybe a different video. But this also here, the Tokyo metro station, is where you can also upgrade the amount of kill coins you have, the amount of fighters you have, and etc. So this you unlock after your first sub boss, and we'll talk about the sub boss and the floors in a future video. But I just want you guys to get used to your central hub and how things work. Basically, you can check the ranking and such, and the reports on when you've been defeated, and etc. But don't worry about it too much, because if you want strong fighters, and if you don't have the necessary equipment, then you can't really raid and defend yourself. Now the fighter freezer is where you store your fighters. My first fighter in the game is actually not the one that I'm on right now. It's actually in the freezer because it caps out at 25 because it's a grade 1 fighter. As you progress through floors, you'll unlock their grade. So at the time of this video, I only have grade 2. But the best fighters, I guess, to start out with perk wise is either the balanced one and the striker. They have higher health and hit harder. Picking the collector is not the best idea because they don't deal a lot of damage. So you're gonna have a hard time dealing with mobs and such in the game. But grade 2, the level cap is 51 for that fighter, while grade 1 is 25. So don't think if you're just stuck on that one character. You gotta get used to using other fighters, like other characters, and sometimes you just gotta let your fighter die. Kind of hence the name. So that's just the basics of the waiting.